left, right.
Yo, what's up, SipTalk podcast? Thank you guys for joining today's episode. We're talking about adulting, just a number of skills that you really need as an adult. And I think there's a decent portion of the population that literally has no idea what the hell we're talking about in this episode. This is the beginning of a conversation. I want to dial it in, maybe bring on some guests and get a little more in depth in this stuff. This is just a preliminary discussion between James and I, where we're kind of shouting out some ideas. Let me know what you think. If we missed anything in the comments, please throw them in there. And again, I super appreciate you guys listening, watching, and being a part of this podcast. I'll see you guys on the other end. This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
Process go.
Cheers.
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 So look, we're already streaming, which is great. This is a new setup. If you guys don't like the setup, let me know in the comments. This is episode 79 of Sip Talk. Today we are talking about adulting, more specifically, how to adult, what you're doing wrong, where you've dropped the ball. And if you think there's some aspects of adulting you want to add, I'm all for it. I'm all ears. I really want to kind of dilute this down a little bit to 4 or 5 simple things that if you master them, like for the most part, life is just going to be, you're just going to live a better life. Before we got on air, I crushed some Five Guys and probably 6,300 calories worth of French fries. So I'm dying for a beer. What are you drinking down there in Charleston?
Staying on the Bush Ice train. I went out to a bar last night with a buddy, and he covered my tab in exchange for me fixing his 2019 taxes. So I didn't feel that great when I woke up this morning. So I gotta go easy tonight.
Did you already do his taxes?
No, I didn't screw up his 2019 taxes. I fixed the screw ups that he did himself.
But before being hungover.
Oh yeah, no, that was. I delivered him the paperwork last night, and then he picked up most of my bar tab.
Okay, fair enough. Most of the bar tab. All right. So look, have you? I want to touch on some current events right now because have you heard this shit going on in Texas?
Well,
we talked about it, right?
The Ted Cruz thing, he just continues to generate bad press for himself.
Where people think that they have fake snow.
What? I had not heard this.
I cannot wait to share this with you. So if you guys are watching us and you're not familiar with this is some crazy shit. In Texas, they got snow for the first time in a long time, like 4 inches, 6 inches. And I think they got like 2 waves of it. Either way,
and it was also just super cold for like a week there, which is rare.
Most Texans not familiar with snow. Many Texans never seen it before. So somebody online posted a video of them with a snowball, like trying to melt it. But what happened was it didn't melt, and then all the lighter fluid kind of it got like soot on the snow, and they're like, "Oh no, the snow's burning, but it's not melting." But it's actually just the burnt lighter fluid on the snowball. But no drops of water came out. And then maybe the same person, I don't know, put the snow in the microwave, and then the microwave started sparking and stuff, like when you put aluminum foil in the microwave. And now there's this crazy conspiracy theory that it's not real snow. It was manufactured snow. And people believe this. People actually fucking believe this.
I wonder if it has anything to do with the Jewish space laser.
It might. It may. There's these great. Well, and again, I'm going to throw that on my adulting list. Is just fucking critical thinking, capital letters. Like I just made a bunch of symbols.
Which
I'm not good at writing a capital.
Last night, my buddy at the bar came up with this because we talked about the Jewish space laser, and he says there's a way better term for it. We need to call it the Death Star of David.
That's good, actually. So, James, not everybody knows what you're talking about when you're talking about this giant laser, but can you just back it up and give a quick one?
Well, all the Jews already knew about it, but we just kept it a secret. But Congresswoman from Georgia at one point believed a conspiracy theory that the wildfires in California in 2018, which killed like over 200 people, I think, was started by like a space laser built by the Jews. Now, why we decided to do this and why we decided to light California on fire as our first target, we'll never tell.
Lot,
But
there are a lot of Jewish people in California.
probably less so than where you are. Um, there's a lot of Jews in and around New York City.
Yeah.
I can't speak to the population of Jews in California,
Well, either way, it's
but
a.
not too many in the campfire area. Otherwise, we wouldn't have aimed it there.
Now, is this like a conspiracy theory, or this woman just came up with it on her own? Like, did she read it somewhere on the internet?
I think it was a conspiracy theory that she read and just decided to buy into for God knows what reason.
Wild. Well, yeah, the conspiracy theories. Damn, they're insane. I don't know. I was making some notes today. I saw an ad on the subway for like hand coverings. So you basically you have a wrist thing, and then you pull it up over your hand to open doors with. And
why not just buy gloves?
I don't know, because it's it's not on your hand always, and you could pull it back down. I'm like very at terms with the fact that there's bacteria and germs on fucking everything. And I'm totally cool with that. I'm also aware that you need to have bacteria in and around your body to protect you from other bacterias.
Yeah, not all bacteria is bad bacteria.
No, not all bacteria is bad bacteria. And I would say probably there's a large amount of it that is good bacteria. And the more bacteria you're exposed to, isn't that good for your immune system ultimately?
Well, here's a fun fact actually, is by number, obviously not by weight, but by number, you have more bacteria in your body than you do human cells in your body.
Interesting. By number, but not by weight. Well, bacteria must be
bacteria are really small, but mostly in your gut, because without bacteria, you would have a really hard time digesting things.
Exactly. And there's you can get an ulcer caused by another bacteria in your
pylori.
Stomach. Yeah. Which was not the cause of my ulcer when I was younger, but I don't know, I get tested for it. Either way, let's skip the bacteria. I don't know. The real point is that I saw this thing and I just got pissed that they're advertising this shit and that people are actually buying it. And I am so vastly different than the person that is seeing this poster on the wall in a subway and being like, that's a good idea. And I think that really they're kind of building this fear of bacteria into people when that's a back-asswards way that our society should be going. And then it made me think, you know what Nest Cam is?
Isn't it like a doorbell cam or something?
Basically, these little overpriced cameras, decent quality cameras, but still vastly overpriced. And you can put them around your house, and they're supposed to make you feel safe and secure. But I've noticed that when I didn't have cameras around the house or around the office, safety and security of the office wasn't something I thought about ever unless something happened. But once I got the cameras, then I became much more worried in general, overall, all the time for the safety and security of the office and the house. And then you get these notifications, whether there's a person or movement or a sound, and you're checking and you get a notification. You're like, oh shit, something's going on with the house. Let me see what's going on. Who's that standing at the house? You'd be surprised the number of people that approach the front door and like ring the doorbell, stand there for 5 minutes and walk away.
Yeah.
But instantly, each one of those is some Home Alone theory burglar plotting out their attack, and they're just monitoring the house at 3:00 to see if anybody's home.
As I go through, as I look at different properties while I'm trying to buy houses, I'll see some of them that are wired up with like an ADT security system, or there was one that had a security system that like when you open the back door, a voice would come out of the panel and say, "Back door open." And I just looked and I said, that shit's got to go. If I buy this house, that all has to go.
I think in looking at properties and being familiar with some of this technology, it's like you there's not much value in a system that's already in there. Um, and I don't think it's that expensive to install one of your own.
I don't want any system at all.
I
For those of you listening, you can rob my property if you can figure out my address. At some point, it'll be public record, because that's how properties work. But like, I'll
oh
have the
God! Oh,
doors locked.
but yeah, if you want to rob James, he's easy. Your father, when we were younger, he's like, yeah, I'd leave the doors in the house unlocked. I figure if somebody shows up when we're not there, I'd rather them just let themselves in than break a window. Like if they're going all the way to the house to rob it, like they don't give a shit. They're gonna put a rock through the window and open the door. I'd rather not have to replace a window.
My parents' house was never locked. We'd go on a vacation for a week. House was unlocked.
Well, different times, but also a mentality that was
Although I
going
have
to
the same
happen.
attitude with my Miata since it's a soft top. I haven't locked my Miata since I've owned it. Like, and
Well,
within about a week of when I had it, I walked out one morning to go to work, and I saw like the glove box was open, and like somebody had obviously been through it. I was like, oh man, somebody tried to rob my car. I was like, wait a second, there's nothing of value in there. Like, I don't even need to make a police report. All I need to do is just take the papers and put them back in the glove box, and then I'm back to where I was.
well,
But I
when I
figure
had
like if someone wants to rob my Miata, they'd either slice the soft top, which is going to cost me money to replace, or I could just let them open the door.
when I
There's nothing of value in there.
when I had the Wrangler with the vinyl windows that zipped up, and I've seen so many Wranglers with slashed plastic vinyl windows that I was just even though the windows unzipped, people would still slash them. So I left the doors unlocked when I had the soft top on, again because I'd rather somebody try the door than say my first way to enter this vehicle is going to be slashing the plastic window, because that's expensive to replace, and either way, it's got a plastic zipper top. They're getting in if they want
Yep.
to. But yeah, there's like a sense of security. You just have to be real with yourself. And you just said public data for addresses, dude. Remember, I mean, I haven't seen a real legit Yellow Pages phone book in a long, long time. But or is it the White Pages that your addresses are? Either way, I haven't seen a phone book in a long time. But everybody, you could just look them up by their name, and you had their address and phone number.
Well, you can also do that now. You can get their phone number, but like all property sales are public record. So, like, and I run into this all the time when I'm doing accounting and tax work. Is if someone sold a home or whatever, and I want to figure out what the value of their sales price or what they paid for it 10 years ago, like I just look on like Charleston County has all the tax records online, and within about a minute, I can search up a last name or a street address and see who owns the property. And
Exactly.
when I buy my house, that's going to be public record, and there's nothing I can do about it.
It's just that's life.
Yeah.
So look, let's get into this adulting thing. I've been
Yeah.
taking notes all day on just kind of random shit. But I do want to get into the adulting thing. Like I said, I want to dial this in, come up with some real solid ideas. I'm going to spitball a little bit today, and we'll see if you guys are watching.
When do you not?
Okay. If you guys are watching live, let us know what you agree with and what we should add when it comes to how to be an adult. The first one that got me was laundry. Literally, the first thing that popped into my head was laundry, because when you live at home, and I'm ranging this from basically 16 to 24 years old. Okay, like that's going to carry you through high school to college to being fully independent. Some people go high school, they move out of the house. But I think when you're, depending on your family setup, a lot of people when you're 16, your parents are doing your laundry for the most part. I didn't do laundry as a kid. But laundry is a big thing. And how often, what frequency would you say you do laundry?
About once a week.
Okay. I think that's a once a week or once every 2 weeks. I'm not a big laundry fan. Um, I refuse to do it. If I'm single, I will hire someone. But to me, it just takes forever. But again, that's being in the city where you have to leave your apartment 90% of the time to get the laundry done. In the house, a little bit different. But I feel like,
Do you have washer dryer in your house now?
yeah. But here's my thinking is, as a kid, if you're not doing laundry normally, you don't think about it. For the most part, it's just done, especially if you have a stay-at-home parent that does it for you. That's awesome. Like, kudos to you. You spoiled brat. Although I grew up like that, so it was nice. But then you move out, and now you got to worry about doing your own laundry. So I think you should expect to do it on a weekly basis. But really, what it comes down to is how much underwear you own. I would say underwear are a single use item. You get to wear them once, whether it's an undershirt or boxer shorts or underwear or socks, single use. Workout wear, also single use. But when it comes to like sweatshirts, sweaters, blazers, suit pants, you can get away with a couple of wears on those. Usually, if you're wearing white clothes, I think they need to be laundered. You wear them once because white clothes get dirty really, really fast. Would you agree on a laundry schedule for that?
Generally, yeah. I'd say dress shirts you can probably get 2 or 3 wears on before you have to put them in the washer.
Depending on, so here's what I do because I wear white shirt every day. Sometimes I'll get a couple wears out of them, but what I do is I look at the cuffs and
The inside of the collar.
the collar, which back in the day they used to have removable collar shirts.
Yeah, I'd love for them to bring that back.
Right, that would be an interesting look. I can't even imagine a shirt with it doesn't zip on. It's got to like clip on. And we grew up right next to the Collar City, Troy.
Yeah,
Or was it really Troy? Or I don't know. Either way,
I'm pretty sure Troy was Collar City. Yeah.
there's a bridge called Collar City Bridge, at least. And then the other thing is sheets and towels. So I think sheets should be done at minimum every 2 weeks, and towels. I like white towels because you can see if there's anything dirty on them because you never know. Like towel might be a little dirty, but I think I probably use 3 towels a week. Usually I use it, 2 or 3 times, 3 or 4 times.
So I'm on about the same schedule with towels as you are, but not really comparative at all in terms of sheets.
Sheets. The thing is, you are in your sheets almost as much time as you are in a pair of clothes every day.
Here's the thing, though. I sleep. I've got you can. I mean, obviously it's right here.
We we,
Like I've
we can
got
all
my
see your
blanket,
bed.
and then like I don't sleep under the sheets. I just sleep under the blanket, and I sleep above the sheets.
Okay. And that, oh man. So I'm not much of a duvet guy, but I always had a fitted sheet and then the regular sheet and then a comforter. But apparently people use duvet without the sheet between the fitted sheet and the duvet, and then you wash the duvet cover. Um, I don't know. I sleep very warm, so like I need duvet. I'm like sweating.
Yeah.
I'm just a puddle at the end of the night. Um, so so we
I don't
got.
know. For me, like laundry is one of the least onerous aspects of being an adult.
Oh, I think well, in New York City again, you're leaving your apartment, so you have to set aside 2.5, 3 hours to bring it there, put it in, and then you got to wait for it to be done, and then you got to transfer it, and you got to wait for it to be done, and then you got to bring it home. You got to fold it, or you're going to get wrinkles. So it's legit like a 3-hour process. You have to put that time aside.
Yeah, so I would hate that, but like just like you do now, I've got a washer dryer in my unit, so I walk 10 feet, start the laundry. If I forget about it, well, who cares?
Not so bad, yeah. So, but again, it is a little different, and in New York City, it sucks. Which, in my opinion, is why it's worth doing a pickup and drop off, because also they fold it for you, and it doesn't cost that much more.
Yeah, wash and fold.
I think it's a couple dollars a pound. And I mean, I used to, even when I was broke as shit, there was a lot of times where I would do the pickup and drop off. And I just would make sure that I wouldn't put like any damp towels, any damp workout clothes because they're weighing it. And I was like, I'm going to make sure this shit is dry as a bone before I drop it off. Um,
All
but
right,
that's
next item.
the next item on the list here is, so really there's a lot of finances involved that people don't understand when it comes to being on your own. So when you leave, like being in a college dorm, for the most part, to be in a dorm and to live on campus, you have to demonstrate to the school that you have the money. And if you're living at home with your parents, you don't so much usually have to worry about groceries. And again, I'm talking kind of middle class, which I guess is an evaporating population. But for the most part, when you live at home and you're a kid, your parents are buying the groceries. Um,
Well, and with college, like
You
living in a dorm and having a campus meal plan, it might be expensive, but it's just like one bill that you get and you
well,
pay it and that's it.
I have notes on that. So the thing is, you take a 17, 18-year-old kid who's never had to prepare a meal, and I don't mean like make a grilled cheese sandwich and that's like a gourmet ordeal for them, or cook some pasta. I mean like
Ooh,
actually
quick story time.
prepare a meal. All right, what do you got?
Um, so junior year or senior year of college, my current roommate, we moved from one side of campus where we were on a meal plan to the other side of campus, which was more apartment style living.
Mm-hmm.
And we're so now we have to kind of cook for ourselves much more regularly because instead of getting maybe 15 or 20 meals a week at the dining hall, we might get 5 or 6. So most of the food that we're doing is going to be is stuff that we made ourselves. So he gives me a call about a week into the semester and says, "Hey man, I'm trying to make some pasta. How much water do I put in the pot? Like, I want to make a pound of pasta. How much water am I supposed to
A
put in?"
pound of pasta.
I'm just making up
Okay, all
numbers.
right.
I've got a pound box
But
of
this is
pasta,
this
and
is
like, how much water am I supposed to put in the pot? And I said, you just put enough so that it covers the pasta.
but this is my point, is that literally people are fucking clueless when it comes to doing shit like making pasta, which is really a one ingredient. It's two ingredients if you're counting the water, but people don't know how to do this shit. And what I was thinking is like without meal plans, like there's a lot of kids that legit would starve to death, or they would have no idea. When you're 16, 17, 18 years old, for the most part, you're not going to the grocery store and doing like a full cart full of shopping. You're like going in to buy some chips or buy some soda. So you're not thinking like I need a well balanced diet. So
Well, and
the
go to the grocery store is hard in terms of being able to actually pick out a decent basket full of things that are going to keep you going for a couple of days. I've been doing it for 15 years. I still suck at it.
So yeah, I'm not great at it either. But the thing is, when it comes to courting a good woman who can cook, you have to demonstrate first that you can cook. So it's very important that you can master 2 or 3 meals to kind of really perfect and show
Yeah,
your stuff.
yeah. And so if I go to a grocery store with a meal in mind, I know what to order. But if like you were just say like go to the grocery store and just get yourself enough food to last you for the next week or whatever, I consistently fail.
Yeah, I'm not great at that either. But also a benefit of being in New York City is that the grocery store is typically downstairs or within a block, and you can get food on delivery super easy, super fast, and it's much cheaper per delivery in New York City. But yeah, I think people need to figure out when it comes to adulting, you got to figure out what you'd like to be eating, and then also the cost of the food. Like food costs a shit ton of money. I've spent a lot of time as an adult very broke, and what I usually do is I'll just stock up on like pasta.
Ramen.
No, I don't like ramen. But you can get a box of spaghetti for 99 cents, and you're getting 3 solid meals out of that.
Yeah, like
And
$3 for some pasta sauce, a dollar for the pasta.
I mean, here's my pasta hack when it comes to being broke is you take a third of the box of spaghetti, basically like this much here, you throw it in a pot with some water, and then you boil that, you drain the pot, a little olive oil, little salt, little pepper, and then you crack an egg and you mix it up really quickly while the burner's still a little bit warm. And it's almost like this carbonara style pasta, and you're getting additional protein, and it's one egg and 33 cents worth of pasta. So that's a pretty cheap meal, and it has worked for me many weeks, maybe months on end. So I'll do the pasta route. I do a lot of oatmeal. I just buy those giant Quaker oatmeal containers. But yeah, and like peanut butter and bread type of stuff. But the thing is, like, if you're going to live, I wasn't choosing to live on my own after I lost whatever amount of money in whatever business or job transfer. But if you're decidedly going to move out on your own, you need to take into account budgeting for food and what type of diet you're expecting to have. I have more on budgeting in a
Well,
minute.
yeah, I kind of want to touch on that because I think that that's something that when you graduate from high school, you aren't really taught much about how to handle personal finance, just basic financial skills of budgeting and having a realistic understanding for what your monthly costs are and how much you need to earn to sustain a given lifestyle. The basics of how to file your own taxes.
You don't learn that. You don't. Do you learn how to file your taxes? I don't think so.
No,
In
the first
home
time
in
that I had
home
to file for my own taxes, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
in home ec, I learned how to sew a stuffed animal from a template, and how to cook some food that I have never ever cooked again. I don't even remember what it was, but home ec was like a not very nice teacher, but not very useful stuff that had in the application at the time, and then you forget it. And I
Oh
don't.
yeah, and also to carry around like a flower baby for a week.
The flower baby thing, definitely, that was a home ec thing for our generation. But yeah, the sewing a stuffed animal from a template, that was total bullshit. Like, at what,
Although having some basic sewing skills is nice if you tear a piece of clothing or you need to do some quick clothing repair, you pop a button off.
yes, I outsourced back when we were up and running pre-coronavirus to Artie, who's kind of like my assistant slash. She just rocks. She did everything. I said, "Hey, can you sew?" And she's like, "Sure, I can sew." Tried sewing a button onto a suit that I popped the button off of. It did not look good. Ended up using hot pink thread on a navy blue suit. it was really bad. I don't know where the suit is. I've probably outgrown it. All right, so vehicle transportation is a big one. When again, we're talking about becoming an adult and challenges that you don't foresee or you're ill-equipped to deal with. And I will definitely say that vehicle ownership or transportation costs are an absolutely huge one, because usually when you're a kid, if you are driving, your insurance is on your parents' plan. Parents may not want to keep you on their plan. Some parents will be cool with it and be like, "Yeah, what do we care? You can stay on our plan." Um, but insurance costs for your car, vehicle, whatever the vehicle costs, whether you financed it, leased it. If you leased it, you're rocking out as a high school graduate.
Yeah,
The maintenance
leasing's a
fees, the
dumb
fuel
idea.
fee. But yeah, I mean, owning a vehicle costs a lot of money. And I think that's something a lot of people don't think about. Obviously, if you're in a place like New York City, you just got to cover a Metro card. That's it. But
I
am I
just did
hit?
some rough math in my head. The vehicle that I have right now is not high performance or luxury or anything like that, but my vehicle costs every month are a little over $500, and that's just like insurance, the note payment, and fuel.
I didn't even think about fuel. Yeah, fuck. I've been spending so much money in fuel every week to have to now commute back and forth to the city, and covering the tolls, which some of these tolls are like $15
Per
each
day?
side. Yeah, like the Holland Tunnel, Lincoln Tunnel. These things are not cheap in this area. So I mean, that's a huge cost. Not something. Luckily, I'm not that tight. But back in the day, I remember passing like a $4 bridge back in the day and realizing I had forgotten something and having to go back over the bridge and then back over it again to get where I was originally going. And I think when I finally came home from the long weekend away, I went through the bridge and didn't have enough money for the toll. And then they were like, "Okay, you pull over after the toll, and then we're going to give you a basically a ticket, and then you have to mail this in, and then we'll mail you your ticket and your fine for not paying at the toll." And that was like a $4 toll back in the day, so that was fun. All right, so yeah, vehicle ownership.
That's one thing I definitely don't miss about New York is having to pay tolls.
Oh yeah, I mean, the thing about tolls is it's such a bullshit setup. The toll is supposed to cover the cost of building it and maybe general maintenance. But a lot of the tolls were put up, especially originally back in the day, were put up to cover the cost of building it, and then they were supposed to be taken down, and that's how they were sold to the public. But then they go up because they're covering the regular maintenance of that structure, the bridge or the tunnel, and the surrounding areas.
And all the other pet projects.
And basically every fucking thing else that the transportation authority or whoever, MTA, whoever it is got to cover. And man, the fact that so they're starting to do a toll if you're under 59th Street in Manhattan that you have to pay to be driving. you pay a surcharge to be downtown basically, which sucked for me when my apartment was on 63rd Street. That was not cool. All right. So vehicle ownership. Let's see. I think just one of the kind of more abstract ideas that I wanted to get at when we're talking about adulting is the fact that you have to do things that you don't want to do, but there's nobody there to push you to do them.
Yeah.
And that includes laundry, but it includes waking up, and exercise and eating healthy and just a lot of things that like you might not naturally expect to have to go out of your way to do. But now they're things that like nobody's pushing, like clean your place, like, keeping a generally well-maintained, habitat.
So here's the way I would describe it, because I agree with you, is that as an adult, there are a lot of kind of daily decisions or weekly decisions that you need to make that if you don't do them, they don't have an immediate consequence. It's if you don't do laundry, like if Sunday night's your laundry night and you don't do laundry that Sunday night, you're not going to like have to pay a fine. You're not going to suffer the next day or whatever. But if you don't exercise every couple of days, if you don't go food shopping, if you just don't do all these little things, eventually it all adds up. And then you're either left with a situation where you've got to do a ton of stuff all at once just to get back to where you're supposed to be, or now things are just miserable for you. And so
Yeah,
it's yeah, you're
I
paying
can.
the price later, and it's something that we don't really teach kids to understand very well, because if you're a kid and you either don't do something that you're supposed to do or you make a mistake or whatever, the punishment's immediate. It's, hey Johnny, go clean your room, and then half an hour later is your room clean? All right, well, no, it's not clean, so now you don't have any privileges. You don't
But
get to
that
watch TV, you don't get to, like, no computer
but that
time.
voice doesn't exist when you're an adult.
Right.
So, and that's the thing, is a lot of people just think they're going to chill and relax. And I hire a lot of young people, a lot of young men more specifically, because for whatever reason, men suck at this stuff, like doing laundry, keeping their body up, clean and stuff like that. But, and in New York City, a lot of these guys that are early 20s who grew up in the city still live with their family. And then when their family goes away, or they move out and they get a new place because they started making a little bit of money, you just see like a huge lifestyle. Basically, you just watch what's going on with this person. We get a lot of young interns who are uh, 17, 18 to 20 years old, and they're in that range where like shit's just not being done for them. And sometimes I have to have these uncomfortable conversations like, dude, is that you do laundry recently? Your sweatshirt stinks a little bit. Also, you're wearing a sweatshirt to the office. Can we change that up a little bit?
Yeah. But
Um,
a lot of these things aren't taught, and again, it's going from, here's my responsibility, and if I don't meet it, there's an immediate consequence, so I have to do it, to now you're an adult, here's my responsibility, if I don't do it, nothing really happens. Not right now.
no, exactly. And I mean, also, if you're a major procrastinator, like that's a lifestyle. And in my defense, when I hire these people, everybody interviews very well, dressed up really, really nicely. Something I look for in interviews is like, does that look like brand new, like right off the rack? Like, is there a chance that you're going to come in tomorrow and you're not going to have professional clothes to wear? Which is, I mean, as long as you look good in the interview, that's fine. But I'm always wondering, like, do you normally dress nicely, or how's that going to go the next day and next week when you're working here? A big thing that I notice, and again, this is New York City. I don't know how people are going to turn up to the interview, and especially for young people and interns, when somebody comes in with a suit and they got the tag on the suit, like right off the rack, it's still got the label on the cuff of the suit. Oh man, that should be certain things, like fashion things. Definitely, we've done some. Were you in the fashion episode, how to dress for interview and stuff like that?
Maybe.
Last summer, I think you were. But yeah, I mean, that's a whole chapter about fashion and how to dress for interviews and how to dress for work. All right, so here's another one: is finding where to live. So okay, so you're 18, you're 19, or you graduated college. Where are you going? Whenever you're finished, James.
Oh no, I'm responding to a text.
I figured as much.
Um,
So whenever you're ready, James.
sorry. All right. Where are you going to live once you move out?
I need your attention up here, 1,400 miles away. All right.
Oh, okay. Right, my face is up here.
All right. So yeah, but I think that's a good one. You're out of high school, and either you're going to college and you're staying at home, or you're not going to college, but you don't want to live at home anymore. Where are you going to go?
An apartment or under a bridge.
I'm basically. I think my thinking on this is really a lot of these initial decisions you make, you want to go as cheap as possible. And really, it comes to like having money saved, and it's difficult to get money saved when like you're in high school and you haven't started working yet. Especially if like your parents are like, "Hey, bud, you're 18 years old. Like you got to find somewhere else to live." Like,
Well, that's kind of shitty parenting.
I don't necessarily know that I agree with that. I think people are way too coddled, and at a certain point, it's got to be like, "Look, pal, like you are way too dependent. Like you got to go."
Yeah,
So
but
yes,
there's a difference between you just graduated high school and you've had zero time to set yourself up, and now you're 18, get out, versus all right, you've graduated high school, you can either go to college or you can start working or whatever, and then once you start getting established with your job or whatever, then you're going to start taking the steps to become independent. But just having a dead hard cutoff is not something that kids are prepared to handle for the most part, and you're setting them up for failure if you do so.
potentially. I think there's pros and there's cons in it. I think as a general rule, like it in today's society, it would be very much frowned upon, and it would almost be like child abuse to kick out your 18-year-old, which I think is hilarious. But they ship 18-year-olds off to different countries to fight in their wars. But God
Yeah, but those
forbid
18-year-olds are at least getting paid and their meals are being covered by somebody.
Fair enough. But what I was going to say is roommates. I think people should go the roommate route, and they should go as cheap as possible. Where to live? I think first off, you gotta make sure you're in a place with a decent job market. If you're in a place with a bad job market, you're doomed. You're doomed. I don't, especially if you're out of high school, you're not looking to go to college. If you're in a weak job market, you're screwed. I remember when I first went into real estate, my mom was like, "Well, you could come back and live with me." I'm like, "Yeah, but what would I do? You live in the middle of nowhere." And I love my mom's house. I love her town. Not suited for somebody who's looking for a job. She's very happy out there, but she's also retired. So I wasn't looking to retire at 23 years old.
Well, it'd be nice.
Yeah, but I needed to get a footing in life before before I took that route.
Yeah, retiring with zero pension at 23.
But yeah, I obviously, it's great to live at home if you live in a good job market. Your parents are going to let you, but again, I think the job market is really, really important. And then also you can live in a hot job market like New York City or
Problem with living in a hot job market is that
cost of living. Yeah, the cost of living. Is that what you were going to say?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's why you go this roommate front, and you live very simply. But my thing is just when it comes to where to live, it's shared apartment with roommates in a hot job market. That's my two things on that. All right, what else I got? Health and exercise and daily routine. So again, this is I'm thinking more like your college routine is only so much because you're not working a lot of, especially on campus. And I think when I talk about college, I'm meaning kind of to imply that you're living on campus, that you're not kind of living on your own and you're a full-fledged adult. Because if you're living on campus, you still have this living structure with meal plans and with a place that's paid for, or the money is there for it to be paid for. But if you're living in an apartment, it's a little bit different. But health and exercise, obviously you go from high school, you play high school sports, things like that. But then you kind of drop off in the real world and you're not being encouraged to partake in exercise Really, it's a way to socialize with people if you're joining kind of pickup sports leagues and stuff. But I think a lot of people, I think everybody knows this, freshman 15, and that's on campus living. Um, or you just get a total routine change in your life, and your diet changes quite a bit, and you have to figure these things out. You have thoughts on this, or am I just
Um,
rambling here?
well, it kind of fits into my earlier point, which is that you no longer have people pushing you to do things and there's no longer immediate consequences to your actions. So you don't have someone planning your meals, whereas your parents are generally going to try and find like healthy stuff for you to eat, or ideally, I guess. And if you're in high school, then there's gym class that you're going to 2, 3, 5 times a week that you have to exercise in, and most people play at least one sport in high school, and that's a routine that you have to go to practice, and at practice you're exercising.
Mhm.
And then when you get to college, unless you are playing on one of the like varsity sports, well
Which
then
means
you
you have to have
then
been a decent high school
yeah,
athlete.
yeah, you had to have been a good high school athlete, and it means that you're already motivated, because making a college sports team at any level is not easy to do, because everyone that plays college sports is talented. So unless you're playing college sports, then no one's telling you to exercise. And the meal plan that you have most dining halls, it's just kind of a similar bevy of offerings every single day,
Yeah, like
and it spans the range from pretty healthy to very unhealthy. And no one's tracking what you eat, because it all costs the same. Like if you're on a meal plan and it's just like you swipe your card and you get to go in and eat, and it's an all you can eat buffet every single day, 3 times a week. And you can choose between having 3 hamburgers, pizza, and ice cream, or like light pasta and a salad, and you get to make that choice every single day. And again, no consequences are going to befall you immediately.
immediate.
But
Yeah.
by the end of the semester, by the end of the year, when you've gained 40 pounds and you went from running a 7-minute mile to not,
Barely being able to jog out a mile.
right. And it's the accrued consequences of all
Well,
of your decisions.
we've been pretty lucky, because we're kind of into fitness and sporty things. Um, so that's a kind of a pastime for us. So that's luck, I think, at least for us. But a lot of people, that's not their thing. And that's something. I mean, if you don't give a shit about the way you look fitness wise, and you don't give a shit about fitness, let yourself go. But if you want to be able to not have to buy a full new wardrobe in 12 months, these are things you need to take into account. And that's at every level of adulting, because typically, for the most part, once people turn 30 years old or earlier, it's a decline for fitness. So
Yeah, it gets harder, you progressively harder to recover, progressively harder to keep your metabolism up and the weight off.
yeah, wild. All right, what do I
The other
have?
thing, and like as an athlete, like when you're in training or whatever, your appetite's pretty high because you're burning a lot of calories or whatever. And so if you suddenly go from working out all the time and then you just stop, your appetite doesn't go away immediately.
I know. That's
So it can
so,
be really hard to cut your calories down to a lower activity level, because your body still thinks, hey, like the last 3 weeks we've been going hard and exercising 2 hours a day. I don't know that this is a day off, so I'm expecting to eat like I have to for a 2 hour workout today. Oh, by the way, we're not doing the workout, but I'm still going to eat that much.
dude. I'm 4 or 5 eggs at 8 o'clock in the morning. By 11:30, my stomach is screaming. I usually have a decent lunch, and then by like 4 o'clock, I need something, and then by 8 o'clock, I need something. And when I'm really like hitting the gym hard, I wake up in the middle of every single night and just like crush some peanut butter or something like that.
Yeah.
But those night cravings don't go away when you're not working out, and you still wake up hungry, and your body's just kind of on this. I mean, I'm used to kind of constantly eating, and and also drinking. I drink a ton, drinking, but I drink a ton of water all day long, and I gotta pee a lot, especially when I'm not running, because your body's not sweating that out. Your body's not fighting for hydration all the time. But I drink a ton of water, so when I'm not really being super fit, um, it's like I put on weight really easily and I pee all the time.
What are we getting on comments, by the way?
So you guys have been really lax on these comments about adulting. Either the guys that are watching on, we get 3 streams here. So we got Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Which thank you guys for watching us live. You know that you can catch us on YouTube. You can watch a post-production version where James and I give a little intro. We got a little montage in the beginning, and there's a little outro, and sometimes we throw in some sponsor ideas and stuff like that. Uh, I don't watch it very much. I guess James doesn't watch it very much. We participate in this, but if you can't get us live, you can watch us on YouTube, and obviously you can always catch us on the audio podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcast platforms for audio only. But we're not getting much in terms of comments in the live, which you guys are really letting me down live, guys.
In my defense and also in your defense, I think it would be really weird for us to just like constantly listen to our own podcast over and over again.
Dude,
Like
so
a bit masturbatory.
I follow the podcast and I listen to, I love listening to podcasts, but every once in a while, like I'll be up to date on podcasts, except for this one. And then it starts playing and I hear my voice. I'm like, oh shit, I got to get to the phone. I got to turn this off. I got to turn this off. I'm like, I can't stand it. But I usually think we have some good information. It depends. Obviously not every podcast is for everybody. So we got Lisa on TikTok. And building credit, I just saw was a most recent comment. So keep the comments coming on what you need to be doing to be an adulting tips. So we got building credit, which I didn't take note of at all. And Lisa said one of the best adulting lessons I was taught at 18 was protect and build my credit. Okay, so we got both these guys in the credit. So James, I don't know if you were participating or a participant in this, but at roughly 19, I went out and bought a boat.
I remember this.
Remember that we kind of forged some inheritance type of documents or something like that. Cleared out some inheritance. I don't know if I should be sharing this or not, but we did. Went out and bought a used boat, and then I quit my job at a pizzeria delivering pizzas. And that was back in the day when they just used to mail you credit cards. And I just opened up the mail and then called the number in the back of the credit card, activated the card, and just started using it. And it had a $500 limit. And
pretty quick.
I used the card. Oh, back then, it lasted like 3 weeks or something like that. And I used the card up and I just tossed it back wherever and opened another envelope and called the number in the back of the card. And I remember the day that the second credit card bounced, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like, I haven't been getting many credit cards lately in the mail. I wonder if the ones I got, if they're still valid, because I have a certain activation date on them. And I had pumped gas, and this is back before you had to prepay. So I pumped the gas. And then I went inside to pay, and I had like some chips and some soda. I went up and I swiped the card. He's like, "That's declined." I'm like, "Oh, so what do I do now?" And he's like, "Well, you need to pay us." I'm like, "Well, I can leave the credit card with you." And he's like, "No." He's like, "No, you need to pay us." I'm like, "Well, I can't do that. Gas is already pumped. I don't need the chip. You can have the chips." But I don't even remember what we did. I just remember the moment in which I realized I couldn't pay, and then having already pumped the gas, being like, "Well, it's already mine. What are you going to do?" And the guy didn't know what to do either, which is obviously when we have this now. Every gas pump has a credit card at the terminal. I can't even imagine a life before that. It's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to me. Like now thinking about it, of like you just pump your own gas and you pay afterwards.
Right. All right. So I got a couple more. Let's see. What do we?
Hold on, really quick. Just this is a fun one. What's the smallest dollar amount of gasoline you've ever put into a car?
Ooh, that's a good one. What's the? I've been very, very broke before. Also, I've had a motorcycle. It's got a smaller gas tank, but
Motorcycle doesn't count.
yeah, I get that. I've definitely gone in under $5. I've probably gone in like in the 2 or 3 range, like back in the day, like back after high school. But that's a guess. I know for certain I've done 5. What do you got? Do you have a number?
Um, the number that sticks out in my mind is $1.38.
What is that? 1 gallon at the time?
At the time, it was about a gallon. Yeah.
Wild. Yeah,
It
rough
was like
times.
this is all. Yeah, like I had like $1 and then some coins in my, and I was like, I just need to get a little bit further.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Exactly. So look, so we had a couple more comments. The building credit is a really, really big one, but also I I talk about credit cards with some of the agents that we hire. And that's a really, really tough one because it's difficult to encourage people to use credit cards when it's good for their credit, when they're really easy to spend more than you can. And then you're stuck with a bill that you're paying interest on.
a lot of
And
interest.
yeah, yeah,
25%
yeah,
was
it's
the
like
last one
20.
that I had. I pay
Yeah,
mine off every month now, but at one point I was spending like $120 a month in interest on my credit card.
dude, I look, I've had loads of credit card debt, and I mean I have I have one now. The business card, I think I pay at least $1,000 every month on, with kind of revolving. Uh, but that's nothing because I've paid like with Amex and but yeah, credit cards are very, very tricky. I've been very lucky, and luckily I have very strong credit, but yeah, you only really want to be using credit when you have to. You need to use it very responsibly, but that's a big one when it comes to adulting. I like that. I got a couple others I want to run with. You cool with that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So saving. Someone we had a comment about saving money. Let me just check. Saving for emergencies. But also, I mean, the thing is, like, you need to figure out if you can afford to live on your own. And I mean, obviously, we do a lot of rentals in New York City, and I see people that submit an application and they have $382 in the bank, and maybe they have decent credit and they make so much money. But I just say, well, how are you paying the first month's rent? And they're like, oh, well, I get paid. I have a job. I'm like, yeah, but you're not demonstrating that you have the money.
Yeah,
But yeah,
if someone's getting like, let's say $5,000 a week or $5,000 every 2 weeks, let's say $5,000 every 2 weeks, that like you're making $120,000 a year, and this is Charleston dollars, not New York City dollars, and they have like $400 in the bank. I just say, how are you not able to save this money? Now, like, I get it if they have like retirement accounts or investment accounts or something like that, but if you just have like $400 to your name and you're getting $5,000 every 2 weeks,
but
I just want to know, what are you spending your money on? How are
because
you doing this?
well, I'll explain why. People spend vastly above their means, and what happens is people get a pay increase, and rather than starting to save that money and living the same lifestyle they were at the time they got the pay increase, they adjust their lifestyle and spend a little bit more. But that's the big thing, is before you're going to move out and find your own place, you have to figure out what your income looks like. And it's really, in 2020, 2021, people are super, super impulsive. So they want to just spend that money. They want to move out. And there's very little holding you back. And everybody's telling you it's your right to do whatever the fuck you want to do. But people need to just take a chill pill, relax a minute, save some money, figure out exactly where they want to live, who they want to live with. Because somebody who places a lot of roommates, I tell the agents all the time, when you put somebody in a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment, stay in touch with them monthly, because in a few months there's a really high probability they're all going to hate each other's guts. And if you stay in touch with them, they're going
Yeah.
to individually, they will come back to you to find separate apartments. So yeah, taking time to figure out who you want to live with, where you want to live, how much you can afford at an early age, and just taking a chill pill is a really good way to just set yourself off on a better path. Sure, you might have friends moving out, but like if you're 19, you're living at home, like nobody in the real world gives a shit. Like maybe you got another friend who's 19 who's like, oh, you're a baby, you're still living with your parents. And it's just like, bro, like, fuck you. How special are you? You're 19 years old. Go fuck yourself. Like
But
just
just living with your parents is really limiting. Like, sure, you're saving money, but you don't have any freedoms really.
But also it depends on your relationship with your parents. And I think you have to set certain boundaries with your family when it comes to still living at home. And they need to understand that like you can move out, but you're trying to be smart, but you're also an adult. Like we had a client, oh, get this. This is one that's driving me nuts right now because they're really upset. So this guy applied on like a penthouse, like a $3,000 apartment, not a crazy penthouse. It was in Queens, in Astoria, very nice building. And he put down a deposit. So the apartment was off the market. He got approved for it. And we set up a lease signing. So we had the leases ready to go for him. Now we had other people. Now this apartment's been on the market for a couple of months. And this happened last weekend. We had other people who really wanted to see this apartment. We're like, sorry guys, it's been taken. We showed them some other apartments. They didn't like them. They found other apartments they applied on. Day of the lease signing, this guy backs out. And we're like, hey, man, we understand you want to back out, but look, you put down a deposit. We lost out on other applicants in this apartment. There's a good chance it's going to sit for another month. You understand the agreements you signed state that if you back out, you lose your deposit. He replied to the email, I understand, and I choose to back out. His father called the office today, and I wasn't on the call, but the kid's 23 years old. Father called the office today, talking about how badly, this kid needs the money and how it's not right that he put down the deposit. He's only a kid. And a couple of things here. One, like I'm not going to, if we haven't covered all our bases legally, yeah, sure. We're not fully in the right. We'll back down. But on this one, there's a good chance the apartment's going to sit back on the market. And then we turned away other people, man. Like that's the whole reason for the good faith deposit. So really shitty situation. And then get this, like these guys are like a super famous family. They have their own TV show. The entire family is signed up at like a modeling agency. So I didn't feel very bad for this kid, but it's very often that we get calls from the parents of young adults saying, oh my, it's just a kid. How could you do that? And I'm like, when I take out your 22-year-old kid or your 24-year-old kid, as far as I'm concerned, like they're an adult. I don't understand that they're still like a mama's boy and you control their finances, but like, I'm sorry, this is a real adult person. And I don't know exactly how old they are, how long they've been out of your womb. But
yeah. On the topic of being bad with money though, so this one happened in the spring. Did a return for a doctor in Charleston. His income was about $660,000. So if you do the math, it's about $12,500 a week that he's earning.
Mm-hmm.
And we did his return, and he was due a refund of about $25,000, somewhere in that range. And his return was complicated, and we had to paper file it. We couldn't electronically file it for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you paper file, it takes a lot longer, especially since this was back in like June and July when a lot of the IRS was shut down along with the rest of the country because of COVID. So as slow as the IRS is, it's even worse during July of 2020 because they've got less manpower. And so he says, why didn't you electronically file my return? And we explained to him. And then he says, well, I was really counting on that refund. I'm doing like a renovation on my house and I need to put down like a $40,000 deposit to like keep the contract alive or something like that. But whatever the case is, he owes $40,000 to keep the renovations going. And just like, and you decided that you were going to plan on your refund amount of $20,000 to $25,000 to help cover this, that you're going to expect the IRS to get back to you quick enough when you're earning $12,500 a week.
He was spending money that he didn't already have. And again, that's just dumb, man.
But I just looked at it as in 3 weeks, you can have this covered. And you've managed to run yourself so narrow when you're making $12,500 a week. And like that's in Charleston. So it goes even further than New York City.
Yeah,
it's still a lot of money anywhere, but I just, you can be bad with money no matter how much money you have.
Well, all right. So here's another one. And this was not an original idea of mine, suggestion, accountability. And I think the example you just gave is a very good example. That guy was upset with you and holding you accountable when you were doing the right thing and making sure it was filed correctly so he got the right amount of money versus, fucking it up and maybe he owed money or maybe that money got held up for a couple, whatever. You did it the right way.
Well, if we screwed up the return, the particular thing that he was doing was legal, but it gets a really big red flag from the IRS, so they give it a lot of scrutiny. And the penalties for failing to file this particular type of transaction correctly can run up to like $100,000, both for the taxpayer and also the preparer. So,
Oh, yeah, no way. Fuck that. But again, he was holding you accountable, and really,
it was his poor planning.
It was his poor planning, and he was a person to be held accountable for this. The accountability thing. I got a couple others. We had one about booking your own doctor's appointments. That was an Instagram comment. If I forgot who said it, Gabriella Campo. So that was actually a good one. Booking your own doctor's appointment, very important. I will tell you, as a young person struggling with health insurance, is a very, very tough one. I don't know about South Carolina or if it's a national thing, but I think in New York, you can stay on your parents' health insurance until like 26 years old.
26. That was the PPAC in 2009 or 2010, I think. Expanded it so that you could stay on until 26.
Yeah.
It's national.
Okay, yeah.
Now, other states might have like a later date, but the national minimum is now 26.
All right, so I got a couple more on here. I'm just going to mention them, but again, I think, like I said, I wanted to throw these out there, kind of bring them up because I figure we could dial them in, maybe go a little deeper on some of them at some point in time. But I think it's a cool conversation to have, because I don't hear it being had anywhere else. And there's a lot of young people that like don't know any of this shit. I think you and I probably got beat up by certain aspects of these in life.
Well, one thing that I noticed, like once I graduated college, because college was kind of an insulated bubble where I was around all people that were the same age as me. And the only other people that I was really around was professors. So once I graduated and got into the real world, because even like the jobs that I worked when I was in college, I didn't really work with anybody else. I worked in a soccer shop and I ran the place by myself. So I didn't have like a lot of coworkers or anything like that. And then when I got into the real world, when I moved to Charleston and I started working a job, just a normal job, like one thing that I noticed was how many adults around me made me ask the question to myself of how in the world did this person make it this far? Because they can't seem to figure out even the most basic stuff, yet they're an adult and they seem to be like keeping things together. But when I talk to them, they seem absolutely clueless.
I realized this at about 15 or 16 years old, that a lot of adults don't have their shit together. And that's, I mean, you mentioned that early on, that a lot of adults don't have shit figured out. And I think that's very apparent. But the ones that do, or the ones that figure out one or two things and just double down on them, own them, and run with it, those are the ones that get a lot further in life. And I want to throw these last couple out there. So we got saving money. Save first before you jump. Figure out how much money you need to have saved. Really do a deep dive into what you expect things to cost. And let's see. I had accountability and self-confidence. So understanding how to be confident and what affects your confidence and taking care of those needs so that you're not unconfident all the time. That's kind of an adult characteristic. And then the last one that I added was challenge yourself. If you're going to grow as a person, you need to put yourself in challenging situations, and almost more challenging situations as you get through life. They should become more and more challenging. But if you're not challenging yourself as an adult, then you're not moving forward. Oh, and I had one more, and that was on choosing a job. It's one, you got to be able to detach yourself from your parents, especially financially, if you want to live a happy life. In my opinion, you don't want to be relying on somebody else for finances.
No.
But finding a good job and then figuring out what you want and working for it. I've been in enough situations in my life where I've been extremely uncomfortable and forced to work really, really, really hard to get out of that uncomfortable place. But some people you have to figure out, like, are you comfortable being just barely comfortable? Or do you want to have that padding? Do you want to have, do you want to continue to grow, or you want to basically ride out as high as you got at 24 years old for the next 40, 50 years in your life. And life just doesn't get much better than that. Where you're going to continue to look for job opportunities, continue upgrading on jobs. And what's you're basically setting your minimum and figuring out what you need to do to get above that in life.
Well, it just ties in with ambition, and I've got a couple friends in my life that I look at and I say, I see what you're capable of, and it doesn't really make sense to me why you're comfortable where you are right now when I know that you could be doing so much more. But they generally seem to be pretty happy with their standing, and they're just like, I'm good making $30,000 to $35,000 a year and having a relatively stress-free life.
Which
And
is cool if they're truly okay with that. 35,000 is not very much money though. So there's
no,
got to be a lot of stressors that they're just ignoring.
could be, but there's some people that I see where I look and I was like, I've spoken with you enough to know that you're intelligent to be able to handle more than what you're doing right now if you were to go into a different field instead of working in food and bev, which like you can make decent money in food and bev in certain areas, but like not at the restaurant that you're working at right now. And like here are all these other things that you could do that I know you would be good at, and then just not seeing them even explore it or whatever, and say, why?
They're lacking the ambition. But again, I don't even think ambition is a good way to describe it, because a lot of people have. I need to look at the exact definition of ambition, but I feel like people have this ambition they don't act on, if that makes sense. And again, that's why I get back to challenging yourself and taking the action. Are you looking up the textbook definition of ambition?
What else would I be doing?
What is it?
A strong desire to do or achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work.
Okay, well, it says I guess doing something that requires hard work, not that ambition requires hard work.
Second definition, similar: desire and determination to achieve success.
Again, the desire is there, but yeah, you and I both know plenty of people that have this burning desire, but are just completely unable to act
You
on
can
it.
have desire, but without determination. Determination baked into that word is going to be some expectation that you're going to have to work, because otherwise, determination implies that you're going to have to work for something. Otherwise, it's not determination.
Yeah, I'm going to give one more piece of advice on adulting, and then we'll wrap. But my biggest pet peeve is seeing guys with a jacket on with both buttons buttoned.
Or having a button jacket while you're sitting down.
Or yeah, you're supposed to unbutton when you're sitting there. But if you have a 2-button jacket, you don't button the bottom button. If you have a 3-button jacket, you don't button the bottom button. You can avoid buttoning the top button, but for the most part, you button any button but the last button. On that note, I think it's a good time to sign off. We're going to dial this down in a few weeks. Maybe we'll revisit this if we get the interest. But I'd love to put something out there and just kind of ask people different aspects. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. We can dial it in.
Remind me for the next podcast. You were talking about those hand warmer protector things or whatever that you saw in the subway.
I'll take a picture
And the advertising for it.
Yeah.
Remind me about the power of advertising, because it made me think of a different thing that's advertised and how the power of advertising gets people to buy something.
All right.
That prompt enough will get me to remember what I need to say next time.
All right. I'm going to cue the outro music. Anything you want to add before we cut off here? Throw out your Twitter handle.
Yeah, Get Off My Lawn 204 is the Twitter handle. I haven't posted too much recently because I've been too busy dealing with a whole bunch of other stuff.
All right. Outro music is getting loud. On that note, adios. So that was it. Podcast is over. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like if you're watching on YouTube. If you are watching on another podcast platform, make sure you rate us 5 stars if you like us. If you don't like us, rate us 5 stars anyways. It'd be a really nice thing to do. If you don't like us, why are you listening? Either way, catch you guys next time. Thank you for joining. See ya.
I like PBR. I just got priced out of it.